Dropsite News has just dropped another banger. And for any of the clip chimps out there who are gonna clip this out for social media, please credit Dropsite because they're doing incredible work that no one else is willing to do, especially as it pertains to the Epstein Files. Now, it turns out that Jeffrey Epstein played a major role in building a relationship between the United Arab Emirates, Israeli officials, and American capital. Like Jeffrey Epstein was so much more than a disgusting pedophile. It turns out that he was wheeling and dealing with major global powers, Cenk. Are you surprised?
No, I'm not. But as I have said before, I was surprised originally when Dropsite News started doing these stories, because it turns out Epstein is not a peripheral character. He is a central character in intelligence agencies and their actions. But this story gave me an indication of which intelligence agency he works for a lot more definitively than the others. And wait till you find out why some of the Arab nations actually don't care about the Palestinians at all and are secretly working with Israel. An amazing story. Anna, tell us the facts.
It really is. And I just want to note, I mean, every media outlet has access to these files, and it's telling that none of the legacy media outlets are reporting on any of this. They'll report on the salacious stuff, but they won't report on this. So thank you to Dropsite News, incredible reporting. So this story revolves around Epstein's relationship with Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem. Okay, so Sulayem is an important figure because he is the head of something known as DP World, one of the world's biggest container terminal operators. So very important for trade, international trade. Furthermore, DP World controls an important trading hub in Dubai that's named Jafza. Now, Jafza is the US Navy's most frequently visited foreign port. And the United States, has more ships in UAE ports than in any other port outside of the United States. So you kind of get a sense of how critical and important, this port is, how important Jafza is. And so Sulayem also has ties to the Emirati ruling families. So Epstein happened to be close friends with him, very close friends with him, going back as far as at least 2006. At least we can document it dating back to 2006. And they were actually still friends when Epstein died. So Epstein claimed that his relationship with Sulayem was so close that he was basically in charge of this port, this incredibly critical, important port. Okay, so Epstein's dealings with this guy helped build the partnership between Israel and the UAE. So how did that happen? Well, that partnership, which was developed over many years, was kept under wraps until the Abraham Accord. So a lot of people did suspect that there was some sort of business dealing happening between the UAE and Israel that kind of explained how sheepish they were in terms of Israel's war crimes or its treatment of Palestinians. Then the Abraham Accords come out, they become public, and it kind of reinforced those suspicions, I'll put it that way. So throughout the mid 2010s, Epstein arranged meetings between Sulayem and former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak. Ehud Barak comes up in these stories over and over and over again. As early as 2013, Epstein and Ehud Barak discussed the prospect of Sulayem investing into Israeli projects. So those efforts bore fruit in 2018. And that year, Sulayem told both Epstein and Ehud Barak that he would invest in something known as Carbine, which is an Israeli cybersecurity company that Epstein funded and Ehud Barak was the head of as its chairman. Epstein also connected Sulayem with the American capital on at least one occasion, more than one occasion. So one example, in 2009, he got Sulayem a meeting with then CEO of JP Morgan Chase, Jess Staley. And Sultan is laying the groundwork for you to establish a serious presence, Epstein advised Staley on December 9th. Epstein kept close tabs as the meetings progressed, writing the next day, having fun. Staley replies, wild, just saw the crown prince. So we'll end with an interaction dating back to 2017 when Sulaim received an invitation to Donald Trump's first presidential inauguration. Quote, "Do you think it will be possible to shake hand with Trump?" Sulaim wrote. Epstein replied, "Very many people going, it will be very crowded, but if you can meet some before or after in either Washington or New York, it might be worth it, but unlikely." So I'm gonna stop here for comment because it's just amazing. I mean, look, Epstein was working hard to bring people together, Jake. What was wrong with that?
Yeah, so there's two components of this story, or three actually. One is, oh my God, I had no idea what was happening in the UAE, and UAE turns out to be central in all of these stories. Number two is about Epstein himself and how central he was to all of those. Okay, and I'll get back to number three. So first, let's talk about UAE. So it's formed actually relatively recently. Remember, after World War I and World War II, a lot of these countries were formed. It's like 7 Emirates that they put together. And it turns out they think even a Pakistani banker might have been critical in putting it together. And of course, Epstein knew him as well. So, and you see a lot of the most illicit characters in the world going through that port in the UAE. And why? Because they made it a free zone. So nothing got checked through customs. Since it was a very rare place on earth where nothing got checked through customs and could go in from one country and go to another country, it became a hub for peddling blood diamonds. And Epstein has a lot of diamonds and brags about it all the time. Drugs, guns, and every kind of illicit activity you can imagine. And it's all being done through this port that, as Anna just read to you, Epstein bragged he basically runs himself in the UAE. Now they're telling us that Jeffrey Epstein is just a regular old civilian who happens to know the most powerful people on earth and runs one of the most illicit ports along with the Sulaim character in the UAE. There's no civilian that does that. Are you kidding me? What kind of a joke is this? That's why what Anna said in the beginning is so relevant. So all of the media in America actually know this story because they're following the drop site stories. And they're all going, we're not gonna cover it, right? Nope, nope. The most important revelations about how the world actually works. Don't forget, Noble Mobile saving you a ton of money. So a lot of people are signing up now and beginning to realize, what the hell, why am I paying so much to Verizon and AT&T? So your bill's only $50 a month, but it can actually be less because they give you money back if you don't use your data. So if you're paying more than $50, there's no reason to not switch. It's crazy not to switch because same phone, same number, same contacts, literally nothing changes. TYT.com/switch, TYT.com/switch. All right, we'll be right back. Nope, no, don't, shh. In fact, let's try to figure out how to bury that news. Are you guys in news at all? So guys, the reason why it becomes so central is so many of the scams you've heard about. I don't know if you heard about this Joe Low guy in Malaysia who stole billions from the Malaysian government. That was connected to Epstein and the UAE. And you see maybe that Pakistani banker might have gotten a piece of the action. Other people get a piece of the action and it runs through the UAE. So then when UAE then takes some of its money and invests into Carbine, Israeli security company, so they're now totally in bed with Israel. By the time the Abraham Accords come out, what you're seeing in American news is, oh, what a great breakthrough by Donald Trump taking these two enemies and bringing them together finally. No, they were working together the entire time. And there's Mossad, former director that's involved in this, and he's in Angola where the diamonds are coming from. They've got guys on both sides of the conflict. They're getting the money, all of that flowing in, and Epstein's a huge part of it. And there's a bank called BCCI. They later shut down in the midst of tons of controversies. Also set up by these same guys to run all of these illegal activities through. So meanwhile, Anna, as I'm reading all of this, I'm trying to figure out, yes, but who does Epstein work for, if anyone, right? And before, when I saw him in the middle of the Iran-Contra affair, that's another drop site news, I thought, well, it looked like his contacts were mainly with the Israelis, but obviously America, CIA was central to the Iran-Contra affair. They're the ones who ran it. Israeli intelligence also involved in Iran-Contra, so that's why, okay, could be either, but I thought maybe leaning towards the CIA. Nope. Every single email is about how he can help Israel. Israel, 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 right? And everything in America is such tangential to it, is helpful to the cause of helping Israel. So my assessment, Anna, and there's so much more interesting details that we're gonna get to in a second here too, but is that basically that Epstein was part of either officially or a deep state within Israel that ran all of these illicit activities all throughout the world. The CIA was perfectly aware of it and didn't mind it. And that's why they never did anything about Epstein. And that's why Epstein was allowed to run all of these criminal operations basically unimpeded in America.
Well, first, let me just note that the entirety of the Epstein files have yet to be released. And it does look like the Trump administration is trying to skirt that responsibility, because remember, Congress voted to have the administration release the Epstein files. So I only bring that up because we don't know we don't see the whole picture, and that's very much on purpose. So, everything we've seen so far seems to tie Epstein to, Israeli intelligence for sure. Maybe the forthcoming Epstein files, if we ever get them, will show that he worked with other intelligence agencies. I don't know.
So that's the part, and I just gotta say, they're never gonna release that. So you think the CIA is gonna be like, oh yeah, sure, here we work with Mossad to rape American children, and we did it through Epstein, who was funneling illegal cash through all of our banks and had gotten it from like illicit diamonds and sex trade and running guns. By the way, also partly for the CIA. They're never, ever going to admit that. So let's realize what actually happened. And one last quick thing before you go to the stuff you got, Anna. So that's why, to complete the thought, the Abraham Accords, by the time they did that, they were already working, Israel and UAE and the intelligence agencies were already working so closely together. The UAE's internal security is from Israel. So, come on, they are totally intertwined. And at one point, a Liberian official that they were opposed to winds up in a sex scandal and has to step down. Now, I don't know that it's connected, but I thought, well, that's awfully convenient. And so they had their hands in almost everything going on in the world.
That's right. I want to get to some of the weird, salacious stuff, which could maybe have been used by Epstein for blackmail, or maybe they just like to do salacious stuff together. So let me get to those details, because Suleim and Epstein weren't just, business partners. They were very good friends and did go on vacations together. And look, we don't know for sure what transpired on those vacations, but all we can do is show you what Suleim and Epstein messaged to each other, okay? So Epstein wrote to him after one enjoyable excursion together in March of 2007, quote, "Hope you had fun. I am glad to have you as my friend. You are the only person I have met who is as crazy as me." After Epstein's death, the Miami Herald discovered that Epstein's neighboring island, Great St. James, had been purchased in Suleiman's, I know I'm mispronouncing his name and I apologize for that, in his name in 2016. And there's more. In November of that year, 2007, a few months after his indictment in Florida on sex abuse charges, Epstein mentioned to Suleim hearing a funny story from a woman they both knew. Suleim replied, "Yes, after several attempts for several months, we managed to meet in New York. There's a misunderstanding. She wanted some business while I only wanted some, I think you can fill in the blank." Epstein replied, "Praise Allah, there are still people like you." Unfortunately, there are plenty of people like that. But anyway, thoughts, Jake, before we move on?
No, real quick, last two things here. So Epstein bragged that he had made his money from arms, drugs, and diamonds. And some people thought he was BSing, like showing off in Palm Beach, etc. No, turns out not at all. Now through the series of drop site news stories, these are leaked emails. By the way, part of the reason Ehud Barak shows up so much, that's the former Israeli prime minister in these emails, is because they tapped into his emails. And so how did they get Epstein's emails? Well, Epstein is talking to the Israelis nonstop, constantly arranging meetings for Ehud Barak and Vladimir Putin and with the UAE guys and coordinating everything. There is no civilian that coordinates illegal activities of Israel, America, Nicaragua, UAE, Angola. No, there's a guy who works for intelligence agencies, obviously. So look, guys, I wouldn't even have to be frustrated about it if our press did its job. But our press's job is not to uncover the news, it's to cover up the news. So for example, in America, you'll hear about a lot of countries and cities in the Middle East, and generally they're viewed like presented by American media in a very negative light, like, oh, the Muslims and Iran is terrorist, Hamas, and oh my God, Carlson, all this stuff, right? But the one place that's golden and never gets any bad press is the UAE. And Dubai, you hear about Dubai all the time. Oh, Dubai, everybody's in Dubai. Dubai is great, Dubai, because they're working with the Israelis. That's why. So, and they totally betrayed the Palestinians, threw them under the bus, don't care at all. They're like, how do we make more money? And the Israelis want to, run our cybersecurity, meaning they pretty much run the country. I mean, if you let the Israelis run your cybersecurity, you're it's like one giant pager that runs the country. So they've been in bed with them the entire time. But meanwhile, our media is like, well, Dubai's the one lovely place. And Abraham Accords, that's amazing. They did peace. Oh, UAE is so great. Israel's so great. And everyone else around them is the bad guys. No, it's the exact opposite of the truth. Isn't that amazing? They've been lying to you your whole life. It's just like the Wizard of Oz. What you thought was true is the exact opposite of the truth. Why? Because of the person with the microphone. The person with the microphone makes the biggest difference. So yes, after seeing all these stories, Anna, it's the most obvious thing in the world that Jeffrey Epstein was intelligence for Israel, no question about it. And yes, it appears the CIA knew. If they didn't know that Epstein was Israeli intelligence and he was running all these illegal operations, including with the CIA in Iran-Contra, then the CIA is the most incompetent organization in the history of the world. So yes, our government is also guilty. They've been covering up for all of Epstein's crimes because they're complicit in Epstein's crimes. And of course, the most important thing in America is Israel shall never be besmirched. So if there's shows that Israel is the one running that operation, well, then shh, everybody cover it up. And that's what's been happening until Drop Site News got these emails. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.